It's finally back. Man, I've been waiting for this. I mean, I give a lot of my food takes. Luckily, I have an outlet on Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas. It's Steve Cofield. Caleb Herring is here. I'm the sideline reporter for UNLV football. Caleb, of course, played for the Rebels, played quarterback, and is now part of the broadcast team. For how long now? Is it like 8 years? More than that?
I think it's more than that. I think I started in 2015.
Okay.
That season was my first season. So yeah, 8-9 years, somewhere in there.
No, we
It's
are the
flown
number
by.
one. We're the number one broadcast team in terms of. I'm not going to say having a good time on the road because I think there's other lunatics who are, who knows what they're doing out there. We say somewhat under control. We want to see the bars, the restaurants, as I'll call it, the vittles on the road and report back to you. And then we also talk about the food at the stadium. So it'll be interesting to see if the Cougars have a budget, have Power 5 money, if they're going to set us up with some food or they're going to be cheap asses. I'm trying to think, looking back, not to bash a Mountain West Conference opponent, but there are some real hellholes in terms of food offered. And here's the thing: before we even name anywhere, we've done it to ourselves. The media in general, we are pigs.
Yeah.
We're not appreciative. We are, but when they offer food, people complain and bitch and kvetch. So we really appreciate the home venue for UNLV. Allegiant really makes an effort. Mark Wallington, who helps set up the menu, it's a themed menu. They do a really good job there. So game day is not always the same around the country. So I'm hoping the Cougars step up and give us something decent.
Yeah, I want to again shout out Mark Wallington because he takes the effort not just to provide excellent cuisine, because that's what it's called at Allegiant. It's cuisine. It's not just vittles. It's they go the extra mile. But they also respect the opponent in this. Every time there's a meal, it's themed based on who's coming. Like the team that's coming, like the Cowboys are coming, so there's a cowboy themed meal. Hawaii's coming. What do they always serve? Your favorite. And it got rave reviews from the Hawaii staff. Like they're like, this locomotive is great, right?
Yep.
Like they raved about it. So not just the quality of the food, but the thought that goes into the menu prepared by Mark Wallington. It's top notch, not just in the Mountain West Conference, but I'd say it's Power 5 rankings when you're talking about the Allegiant Stadium pregame food.
Over the years, as we've done Broadcaster Bites, there's pressure on us. We have to deliver for you. We can't pick a flop of a meal. If we do, you hear about it. We usually go on a 1 to 100 PFF scale, and there's been many times meals have gotten 30s and 40s. There's other times they push the 80s and sometimes beyond belief in the 90s. Before we even talk about Houston, did you have any good culinary or bad culinary experiences over the summer?
So I had a unique culinary experience, and it turned out to be good as far as the dining. I went to I went to Toad's Cafe at Universal Studios. It's in Super Mario World. So I went on a family vacation with the kids, and we went to Universal Studios in California and Super Mario World. There's a restaurant that you have to make reservations at like a day in advance. And I was super dad this summer, and I got the reservations, and I wanted to take my kids to the atmosphere of Super Mario. And I was surprised by the food. The food was actually really good at this theme park restaurant, and kind of blew me away a little bit. So that was one. And then I was in full dad mode. The other one, I don't know if you know, there's I don't know if you're into anime or not, or if anybody listening is into anime. My son's into anime. So there's a place called One Piece Cafe, and it's anime themed here in Las Vegas. It's actually in Chinatown on Spring Mountain, and it is a anime character themed restaurant where they have all the food that the anime character eats in the show. So it's more of an atmosphere again vibe, and then the food again was surprisingly good. Like it was like this cuisine ain't bad. So had fun with the kids and had a good meal. Little adventurous on my part. It's nothing compared to what we do on the road because we have a different set of rules. These places were too clean, and you know what I mean by that. They were too clean, too well kept, not exposed or wood panel walls anywhere. So wasn't up to the broadcaster bystander, but it was different. It was a different choice for me. What about you? You have anything? I know you've got places all over in town that you got, but did you get anything special, unique this off season?
One, I'm going to shout out a place in town because you mentioned Spring Mountain. And it was National Fried Chicken Day about a month ago. And I was like,
how did I not know that?
You got to listen to the show, bro. We talk about it a lot. Yeah. Well, you meant that way. Okay. Well, you know what? Here I'm gonna violate something here. I chose to go the Korean route over the American route for fried chicken, and Spring Mountain is a doozy. And I found a place. I walked in. Everyone was Korean or Korean American. Now, was I like, oh my god, I'm not comfortable? I'm like, no, I've hit the mother load because if they're all eating here, they know it's good. But a place called Jongro on Spring Mountain, and you know, I like to take pictures of the food. I stop you guys from eating meals. Like you're in, I'm like, photos. I first of all, the order I made was absurd. You could order a whole fried chicken. So basically, it's spatchcock. They slice it, split it, and then it's, and I was like, I'm like, I have to have this. And then I just went crazy when it got put on the table. I ate a quarter of it, and I was like, oh, I need to take a photo. It's the worst food photo I've ever taken because a quarter of the chicken was eaten, and people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I couldn't contain myself.
Yeah.
So I got to give that place a shout out. It was the Koreans really know how to make fried chicken, man. And I'm going to tell you now, I don't know if Nevert's going to be up for it, but one of my goals when we go to San Jose is I want to go to an authentic chicken and waffles place in Oakland. We're doing this.
We can do that.
We're going to go to the roots.
I'll be just fine.
We're going to do it. Because, that might be part of the reason why I'm going to do it with Broadcaster Bites. I'm not saying it, but the rest of our efforts around the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I want some authentic fried chicken and waffles.
You're not going to find it.
I mean, Logan?
Yeah. Nah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You might get a nice chowder or something. But no, it's.
I just got to break in for a second. Your experiences in Logan, I want to feel that in Oakland. And you know what I mean? When you walk in a restaurant, everyone's like,
I think it's gonna be so much more blatant and uncomfortable. Oh, it's gonna be hilarious. And I wanna track if I feel it or not. Like, can I feel feel the pressure of you walking into a Waffle House in Oakland?
You're the one who might get in trouble. But like, who brought the two whites? Who brought Neverett and Cofield? This guy's out of here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You guys are sitting in the back for sure. You're gonna ruin the ambiance. But
that'd be great.
Like the fried chicken thing. It's funny. We had this conversation at work, my real job, my 9-to-5 job, about how Korean fried chicken is. There's a conversation about that. It's the best fried chicken in the world, and I'm like, that's kind of disrespectful. I think that American fried chicken or Southern fried chicken, let's say, is not as nationally exposed as it ought to be. Like if you've had fried chicken your whole life, and I'll tell this to my mother, you've had fried chicken your whole life, but until you go down there and let one of them Southern kitchens make you some fried chicken, you don't know what you're talking about. All right. And I think it's a discussion for sure. Korean fried chicken is good, but I went to Hattie B's, the originals down there in the South.
Nice.
It's a different animal down there. That chicken is made to perfection, but who knows? We got some good spots for some chicken. Maybe
a lot of goals.
Maybe week one is one of them.
A lot of goals. I'll just mention real quick that I go to New Orleans every year, and people are like, "Hey, give me some restaurants in New Orleans," and I'm like, "Fried chicken, fried chicken, fried chicken, fried chicken." I like that. We wind up getting hardly any Cajun, Creole, traditional, Louisiana food because they make such good fried chicken in New Orleans. All right, so Houston experiences in the past. Have you been there?
Never been to Houston.
Wow,
that's so strange. I know so many people from Houston. My uncle's from Dallas. I've been to Texas plenty of times. Houston has not been one of my stops.
Neverett, I know, has been down there. I don't know if he's been in Houston proper, but he's been in Sugar Land, which is real close, traveling for AAA. But my guess is he's well traveled, so he's probably been there. He says he has sources, so he has yet to. I don't know what's going on here. We're a couple days out. You got to pass over the research here. I mean, this is like literally like UNLV going on the road for a football game, and like we haven't all seen the playbook. Come on, bro, give us the information. I've been there many times. Some people hate Houston. It's really spread out. I actually think the diversity of the culture and the food there is pretty amazing. People just assume, hey, it's just Texas, it's cowboy hats. It's not. One of these days on one of these trips, I'm going to get someone to go and get some Vietnamese or Viet Cajun, which I think is going to be awesome. But we have set up early a potential challenge between cities and states, and that is Texas barbecue, Houston specifically, and Kansas City barbecue. I think I've already got the Kansas City spot nailed down. Houston, though, as people watch this, give us some Houston spots for barbecue. But here's the challenge. I noticed when I was looking up a lot of the H-Town barbecue places, they're like hardcore, man. They have lunch. They might go from like 11 to 2, and then they reopen at 3, and they go like 3 to 8. So even on Friday nights, they're done. Now, we get there in the afternoon. I will be on the air until 8. I'm not going to require anyone to wait for me, but I would love to hit a place that's open till 9, and there's only a few.
Right.
Now, and I didn't look at all the open and close times, but for people out there, I wonder what they think is the best place. One of the places I've seen mentioned a lot, but I don't think it stays open late, which maybe means that we get like an 11 a.m. lunch somewhere. One of the places I've seen mentioned a bunch is Truth Barbecue. So that could be a possibility. And then from there, I mean, I think most places basically have their specialties. Like, what do you know of Texas barbecue? What would you want?
See, that's the thing. I don't know that if Houston is Texas, just Texas barbecue, because what I've seen is a lot of diversity too. They have a Chinatown. It's a huge city, so there's a lot of variety, more than I expected. And I'm seeing a lot of seafood places, and I think that's part of my research is just to look for mom and pop stuff, like stuff that's locally homegrown, and of course there ends up being a lot of breakfast places like this. So like Mom's Country Kitchen, there's a couple of spots.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a place called Maddie's Catfish and Kitchen. So I'm like, what is that about? You know, because if your name's Maddie, profiling here, you can probably cook. And if a restaurant's named after you, you can probably throw down. So I'm interested in those kind of things. I don't know that this was from my college roommates, Devontae Davis and Tim Cornette were from Houston, and I don't know if I've just heard this from them. But Po' Boys, I heard that, and I've seen that it's in Houston. I don't know if that's a Houston exclusive. It's not a chain restaurant.
Just so you know, Houston over the years has turned into sort of a partner city with New Orleans. It's I'm not mocking. It's almost like they trade hurricane relief responsibilities.
Right.
These are all on the I-10. But yeah, I was actually just looking up one of the places I went to last year, trying to find a bar that I went into, which, by the way, they had karaoke, unbeknownst to me. I always find a karaoke place, but it was actually on Charter Street, which is actually a street in New Orleans. But keep going with the kind of the Po' Boys and that feel.
Yeah, so that's I'm kind of torn. Like, what is the vibe that I'm going for that will say Houston? And like I want to remember Houston for, this is what Houston was good for. Like we go to Hawaii, we know what Hawaii's good for. We go to New Mexico, we know what they're good for. So I want to get something that I want to eat amongst the people. Where do people in Houston like to go? I like we always say, we want to avoid chains like the plague. And if Po' Boys is a chain, then now I know. But what is the flavor of Houston? And if we're doing a barbecue challenge, I need to know the best barbecue spot in Houston. And like you said, if you're listening and you got something, I will get on the phone with Said Premier, my former wide receiver coach. Like I said, Devontae and Tim, I'll call them. Hey, where do I need to go in Houston to get a decent meal? Because I need to know.
Dude, you got to get on the phone. We got to sharpen this. And when you say chain places, what if there's like 4 or 5 in that area? Is that a chain?
Well, if it's exclusive to that area, I'll make an exception for that, because there's places that what was the place that I'd never been to last year? That was like a chain restaurant from a former baseball player. So I'm like, what was it? And where were we? I can't think of it for the life of me. But it was like I'd never heard of this place, and you guys are like, no, it's a chain. He has like 400 of these, and I'm like, never heard.
Oh, that was Tim Horton.
Tim Horton, yes.
That place, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd never.
That was unique because we don't have Tim Hortons.
Right. So I'd never been exposed to it. So that I can make an exception for that.
Yeah. Barbecue places I've listed: Stockyard Barbecue, Killins, which has like 4. Pinkertons looks really interesting. There's a place called the Pit Room, but again, the hours might be a little bit limited. So I'm down with barbecue. I want brisket. I want beef. If there's beef ribs, that's kind of the specialty of Texas. A lot of beef.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the Vietnamese or the Viet Cajun, I think, is up for grabs. There's a chain that is headed up called Papa's. I don't want to go there. There's like 73 of them, and I've been there. Nothing against them. You know, the other thing I'm intrigued by, and this might be a solo trip, because I'm a sucker for this. You know, my parents were butchers. It was a short-lived butcher shop, year and a half. I think they bankrupted the hell out of us. It was rough times for about a year. But what they came out of it with was some really good slicers. So I've always had a slicer fetish. And I love delis. And this summer I went to a place called the 3rd Avenue Deli, which actually is not on 3rd Avenue because it had to move. It's in New York City. It's in Manhattan. It used to be way downtown, but then moved. My God, it was good. And there is a documentary called Deli Man. It's from 2014, and it's about the shrinking deli community because cured meats, cold cuts, everything that goes into a deli, the prices are going up and up and up and up and up, and places are closing. So the documentary is built around these dudes. Well, it's built around one dude. The place is called Kenny and Ziggy's. Now, I think I'm kind of falling into it because of the documentary. I will say I checked the prices. They're right. Delis have gotten up there. Now, the sandwich may be, this high. Who knows? But I don't know. I mean, I'm going to show you the menu, and we're going to see if you guys want to. It's actually pretty close to where we're staying.
Yeah.
The sandwiches are between like $24 and $30. Like it's deli delicacy. So, but I can't remember. My goal last year, and I horrifically flopped, was to hit a bunch of delis on the road. And then I quickly found out, you know what? The Mountain West Conference, a lot of these mountain cities, they don't do it. Hiram and Shlomo aren't opening delis. And again, I don't want to go after, Logan or what. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And, but I want it to happen. But that may be a place we investigate.
This sounds like something that we should investigate for our post-game meal. Like the one that we have that we whip out on the plane. That sounds perfect.
Boy, that was something that we sort of came up with.
Yeah.
And it's a reverse jinx because sometimes UNLV is very generous. I'll tell you what, man, I didn't get to talk to you during the basketball season. Deshaun Henry what a lovely man. What a lovely man. UNLV basketball, it's all, it's not their responsibility to feed us, but a lot of times they order a lot of food and they have some extra for us. Mm-hmm. He hooked up the broadcast crew with so many good meals. I repeatedly said, I'm like, you're so generous. I really appreciated it. And football is very generous too. But what's the policy with football with us? They'll have food outside the plane, and how do we handle this?
The players get it first. Yep. We wait our turn. We wait for permission and we go. I'll be damned if I'm on the back of the plane eating a sandwich and one of these hardworking football players is up there sandwichless. Right. That's just a rule. So I kind of waited out. But with that, we kind of sometimes there's hundreds of guys, and some of the guys take 2. And who's counting?
Take
Nobody
5.
cares. Yeah, it's fine. Take more. Get it all. You need it. Replenish.
You're playing Kansas. You're playing Oregon State. You're playing Boise State this year. I can't have a 317-pound lineman, shrivel down to 311 if he's not getting food after the game.
No, you got to stay. You got to stay. You got to make your weight. Weight. So we'll sit in the back of the plane, but then after the pregame meal, let's say, is maybe an hour before we go on. Like we'll go on for the pregame show, and then there's a 3-hour game. We're talking. We're doing. You're on the sideline pacing. It's hard work out there for you.
Hard work.
So we go a long time without eating, and then sometimes we go without dinner. Like we'll skip dinner and go right to the plane and get on. But we'll be without food. There's nothing more satisfying than pulling out that food that you had and you knew it was coming. That good a good meal that you knew was gonna taste good at this moment. Doesn't have to be reheat. Doesn't have to none of those issues. You just take it out and eat it as it is. There's something special about that moment on the back of the plane. And I think we should plan for it. We should plan for more. We'll call it. It'll be a segment on the Broadcaster Bites called Tupperware Tales. What did we have as our Tupperware item on the plane on the road back? Because I think that adds to the value of these destinations, right? Like, do they have a deli that can have a sandwich that you preserve in Tupperware that tastes good when you pull it out on the back of that plane? You're not pulling out spaghetti on the back of the plane. You know what I mean?
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like,
we had that happen last year, and I was very jealous. There are also people on the plane who are like players. I'm getting my food. So I'm you know what, I'm really glad. I think the Tupperware Tales is great. I think we're gonna get this sponsored finally. Do you want me to provide you season-long Tupperware?
See, the thing is, I have a ridiculous amount of Tupperware that I have accumulated. I'm
Okay.
actually looking to lose some. So I'll bring my own Tupperware. It'll be a part of my weekly suitcase to have my own Tupperware ready to go.
This is a very important topic. If you tuned in for Food Talk, now we're on the Tupperware. Broadcaster Bites. Last couple minutes as we're getting ready for the trip to Houston. Please send us suggestions. And we're talking like dive bars, divey restaurants, old restaurants, new restaurants, barbecue, Vietnamese, delis, massive population of Nigerians in the H-Town area.
That I didn't know.
Yes.
See, I don't know about the diaspora in Houston. I don't know. You know, I have assumptions, right? I know. I think the demographic.
Don't go go down that. I mean, go down that path. Be careful. But
yeah. I think you have your preconceived notions of what you're gonna get, but I'm already been pleasantly surprised about what kind of cuisine options you have. It's not just typical stuff. So Nigerian though, I don't even know what that would consider. I need to do some homework on what Nigerian food was. You know what? I've had Kenyan food, like food that was like traditional Kenyan food. I've had that before. So I don't know if it's the same because, Africa's not a monolith. So I'm not trying to put that out in the atmosphere. But Nigerian food, huh? Huh.
Wow. I'm proud of myself. You ready?
Yeah.
Populations listed in Houston, Texas. So this is not the whole area because it listed 2.3 million. I think it's at like 5.5 or 6 million. 6.8% of the foreign-born population being from Africa. Let's see, 23,500. No, check that. More than that. Ethiopian, there's 2,500. Ghana, 1,000. South Africa, a little different. 1,000. Cameroon, 948. There's actually 23,000 Nigerians. Hello.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah.
That is a large population for African born for sure. And then Nigerian specific. Yeah. I wonder what it is about Houston.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Find some Nigerian food.
Well, on the Vietnamese thing, there were tons of refugees from Vietnam after the war.
Right.
Came in the early and mid 70s.
And I think going back to the Korean food and fried chicken, there's tales of how fried chicken became a Korean thing, like how they learned. And a part of it was some of the GIs that were in Korea during the wars over there actually taught some of the people how to make fried chicken. And that kind of got rolled through time, and now they make their own brand of fried chicken. Who knew? I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard tales.
Can't be done. And plus, I want this food at like the hottest temperature possible. Man, it would be great to rope up in a bowl of pho on the plane on the way home. Vietnamese pho.
Oh my goodness! Just ruin the back of the plane.
Oh yeah, it'll be fragrant. It'll be fragrant. All right, exciting times. I'm stoked. I think H-Town's very underrated. I can't wait to see the stadium. I can't wait to see what following the Cougars have. I'm not sure it's going to be a massive crowd. Maybe it will be. There's a lot of hope now with Willie Fritz. They're on the dance floor. UNLV's trying to get there. So this is a big game too. If you want to watch about 45 minutes of a breakdown of the depth chart and beyond for the Houston game, you can go to our UNLV All Access podcast. Caleb, we always run out of time on this one. We got a good one coming up, a good road trip. And please keep giving us the feedback. At Steve Cofield, at Caleb Herring _.